Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another coffee rant with Dano and Frank, our Patriot Bald Eagle. Tonight we're going to be talking about a lot of random things. We're going to talk about General Mills and how they are closing a couple of their plants here very soon. It's going to put a lot of people out of work. One of you guys mentioned this in the comments the other day. Ironically, I was reading about this story over the last few days. Wanted to make sure we got the information right. So we're going to be reading some from USA Today, and then we're going to talk about some other things here after this segment. Going to just kind of cover a lot of the things that we've been talking about over the last couple months. Different price increases on food, different food shortages that people are talking about. But we're going to get right into it here. USA Today has an article that was released about a week ago. Okay, General Mills to close pet food and pizza crust facilities in Missouri, one of those being Joplin, which is an area that people already struggle for jobs. A lot of people have talked about over the last couple of years how a lot of different locations of places have been hard to recover. I remember back when Joplin had the crazy tornado a few years back that pretty much leveled the town. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And these companies, it's something that we were literally just talking about yesterday, about how some of these companies, I even used Cheerios for an example, but I thought, that it would be like different brands of things, and that could still happen, but we're going to get into what is happening, and it's looking like this is going to happen as early as summer of 2026. So I felt like it was something we really need to discuss. General Mills here on USA Today's website. General Mills said it will close 3 facilities in Missouri as part of an effort to improve the company's supply chain. The Minnesota-based company will shutter a pizza crust manufacturing facility in St. Charles, Missouri, and 2 pet food plants in Joplin, Missouri, under an initiative to, quote, increase the competitiveness of our supply chain, end quote, according to a report filing on September 25th. The pet food plants were acquired in the 2024 purchase, sure hasn't been long, acquired in the 2024 purchase of Whitebridge Pet Brands, the company has said. The T&T Pizza Crust facility was purchased in 2022. Molly Wolf, a General Mills spokesperson, said in a statement provided to USA Today. Quote, production at these locations will transition to other facilities, end quote, Wolf said. Now, we hear that a lot. We hear that a lot, that employees will have other work. Usually when we hear these things, it usually involves relocation, though. And a lot of people working at these places have families to provide for. And it makes it harder and harder to be able to relocate no matter where it is, whether it's down the street or around the country. I mean, it's always difficult to move your family around. Production at the Joplin facilities is expected to end by July 2026, while the St. Charles plant will close by the end of June 2026, the company has said. General Mills said employees at the Joplin locations will have employment opportunities at other pet food plants, and that it will work with employees at the St. Charles plant to explore employment within the company. Not saying where that will be, though. It is unclear how many employees will be affected by the closures. A WARN Act notice did not appear on the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development website as of October 1st. In May, General Mills approved a, quote, multi-year global transformation initiative, end quote, and said in a filing that it anticipated spending about $70 million primarily for severance expenses. Quote, while this news represents hard choices, they are necessary to fund product innovation, create compelling consumer value, and position General Mills for long-term success, end quote, the company said in a statement the Minnesota Star Tribune reported. Guys, it just, it's sad news. It's sad news because hopefully if you are involved in this, I would start looking right away. They say that these things could go on through June 2026 or July 2026. It could happen quicker. Now, I don't know what kind of agreements need to be made or stuff like this, but I always hate hearing of multiple job losses. You know, if they're closing these productions, and that's going to probably involve a lot of job losses, and people are going to have to move around. And I'm sure they'll try to work with you to find another job within the company. But you have to ask yourself a question. Do I move in this direction? Like, Cheerios is probably not going anywhere, right? We talked about this. Cheerios, Honey Nut Cheerios, the breakfast cereal, is probably not going anywhere. So if you're going to work at a company within the company, and if it's even an option, we'll see, only the future will tell on that. But if it's an option, then I would go with the surefire product that is going to always sell. Now, we talked about this yesterday, how, you know, there's been a lot of things with Cheerios. Not really talking on specifics of Cheerios, but, you know, we see what happens with a lot of companies when they start raising their prices to crazy limits. Usually we will see things dialed back on some of the additional, like, flavors and stuff like that. We were talking about the Cheerios pumpkin spice and stuff like that, which they do sell, and I think for the time being they will continue to. But ironically, as we see this happen, this is a major company that is moving other products, saying that they want to move forward. Well, that's a smart answer, right? Because if you're abolishing 3 companies, well, then either it's one of 2 things. You either have no choice, which sounds like the most likely scenario, or people aren't buying the extra products, which that could be too, right? They may not be buying the extra products and you're not getting those sales, but you're not going to come out and say that, because you don't want your company to be tainted with something that said, oh, this didn't work, we're firing a bunch of employees, right? I mean, I know it sounds harsh, but that's the sad reality of it. So, you know, as far as, I just remember reading stories of how hard it was for Joplin to rebuild after the tornadoes had just ravaged through the town. And then hearing this, it's like, man, you know, I don't know much about Joplin, Missouri, but I do know that anytime a town is completely ravaged by, you know, natural disasters, you know, it's hard to rebuild. And a lot of these families have probably been rebuilding their homes for the last several years, and now you've been with a company like General Mills for so long, you think your job is safe. Guys, no job is safe these days. They're really not. We've seen a lot of different things with a lot of different companies. I remember I covered the Smithfield Farms when they were doing away with a lot of different farmers and not dealing, you know, probably, I'm sure it's a money thing. Always follow the money. If you want the answers, follow the money. And of course they word things in a way to where it's going to look good on paper for them, while saying they care about their employees. Well, caring is making sure that those families are protected, right? Making sure that they have a job and that it works out best for them. Especially people who've been with your company for 5 years or more, who have an established life, who have an established, you know, sit down and talk with these people and work it out. Don't just give them a piece of paper and say, good luck. We see a lot of companies that have done just that. Companies that say these things, they say these words, and they put these things, you know, they tell the media and they tell all this stuff, oh no, this is what we're doing. And then months later, we don't hear anything about it on the media. And then we find out, no, that's not really how it happened. My husband had to get a job here. My wife had to get a job here. They could not work for the company anymore. They did not want to relocate. You know, over the years of doing this on YouTube here, I have met a lot of you guys. I have talked with a lot of you guys who have been directly involved with companies that this has happened to. So this one, a little bit, hits home for me because of you guys. I know a lot of you guys out there have lost your jobs because of not wanting to relocate. I don't blame you. I love Cincinnati. I don't want to have to relocate if my job, you know, if say P&G went out of business, which I don't see that happening, but certain divisions could go out of business. P&G is out of Cincinnati, by the way. And if something goes wrong, or maybe General Electric, years ago, and some of you from Cincinnati may know this, but years ago, GE was in Norwood, Ohio. And it was a predominantly poor town, and everybody relied on General Electric. Everybody worked there. It's what kept kept the town going. And then they moved 20 miles north. They moved 20 miles north, and a lot of people don't realize how much that devastated Norwood. Now, Norwood has built itself back up with major industries coming in and a lot of other work, but it took years for that to happen. Years. I know people personally whose families had struggled a lot after GE had left. I mean, and you know, you never know what can happen. You never know, right? You never know what can happen. But it's like these companies, I don't want to say they don't care, but it's like whatever is going to be the benefit for them to make more money in the future, that's the way they're going to go. And the thing is from a business perspective, I understand. You have to look at both sides. I understand the business perspective, but I am for the people who are losing their jobs in that perspective. Because I think there's ways that these companies could have worked things out better in the past. GE was one of them. I don't know, guys. It's, you know, we continue to see these things. We were talking about yesterday, if you didn't see the video, I would check it out. We were going over a lot of different price increases at the grocery stores. We were talking about some different shortages that people are seeing. Salt, somehow the most plentiful mineral on earth. Somehow we're finding shortages of salt. I don't think I mentioned this in yesterday's video, but one of our viewers had mentioned, one of our longtime viewers, I was at Meijer the other day, and I noticed that it wasn't until we already talked about it, but they had no plain salt. There was no Meijer brand plain salt. They had the more expensive Morton's, and there was plenty of iodized salt, but they did not have the plain table salt, which I did think was a little unusual. Some of you have been talking about Kroger, where Kroger brand has been very low. I haven't noticed that around here yet, but I am going to keep an eye on it. Flour has been an issue. A lot of you guys were commenting about flour. Some of you said even at Sam's Club, where they were out of some of the King Arthur flour, or not King Arthur, Gold Medal. And that's the one me and Jessica buy. I did notice, not on camera, but I did notice the other day at Sam's Club, our Sam's Club was plentiful on flour. They had the other 25-pound bag that they carry, and then they had the Gold Medal that we buy, the 12-pound bag for $6.72. It's a good deal. It's a good deal. It's good flour. So, I mean, I've never had a bad batch of Gold Medal flour. So, but we talked about Kroger and how their 5-pound bags have gone up 60 cents within a couple weeks. This is within 2 weeks. This is 2 major price increases within 2 weeks. And when a store brand, especially Kroger, they got to know they're going to be losing money on that, right? Or they're just trying to get rid of a more name brand, I guess. I don't really know. But they went from, let's see, $2.99, or no, $2.69 to $2.99 within a week. And then that very next week, they went up to $3.29. Still $2.19 at Aldi for theirs. They had a price drop on their Baker's Corner flour 5-pound bags, and that was up to $2.35, close to the same price of what it is at Walmart at $2.38 for the same 5-pound bag. Now, I will say at Walmart the other day, I did notice that it was a little less than normal. They still had some, though. And if you guys remember what I used to do on the channel here, I said we got to kind of give it the 2-week. Right? It's like if you go to the store and they're out of something that week, give it another week because it might be on back order. Maybe the truck's running behind, or maybe they don't have any trucks, you know, or we don't know these days. We just gotta, we gotta talk. That's why we talk about these things. Thank you all for leaving all of your comments yesterday in the video, because that helps us, you know, when we talk about these things, that helps us and your neighbor and yourself know that when you go to this place, well, this may be a possibility that they don't have this and you might have to look elsewhere for some products. That's why we visit so many different stores. I try to visit ones that we can all compare. You know, Kroger is Kroger around here, but Kroger does have a lot of Kroger-owned stores all around the country. Food for Less, which is out west. That is one of the ones that somebody was saying that you had a shortage of sugar. I think I mentioned King Soopers yesterday, but I remembered it was Food for Less and Ralph's. Ralph's was one of them also. Now, there are some other places. Somebody was talking about, is it Winn-Dixie? I think Aldi bought out Winn-Dixie. And some of you guys from south of here were talking about how you're starting to see a lot of things that from Aldi end up at Winn-Dixie. well, that's probably going to happen. You might see different Aldi products. Hopefully, they're around the same prices. But in some ways, I'm kind of glad that there was kind of a buyout in that because, for one, Aldi gets some pretty amazing prices. They find ways to do it. Some of you guys have said some Winn-Dixies have actually closed off part of the store. Now, like have made the store smaller. Now, I don't know. I don't live around a Winn-Dixie, but I did want to tell a little bit of a story here of what happened with Biggs. Anybody remember Biggs? Biggs used to be a big store around here. It was like, at one time, it was pretty much the only competition Kroger had. Now, Biggs ended up eventually going out of business along with Thriftway and some other businesses that just could not compete with Kroger. That's why I was saying it was a bad idea for Publix to move up here. Okay, we'll get into that here in a minute, if I can remember, though. But Thriftway had gone out of business years ago. Okay, now Biggs did kind of the same thing. Biggs had condensed the store. They basically they went as far as turning off the lights in more than half of the store. They couldn't keep it all running, I guess, right? Or they just condensed it to sell the stuff that people loved most. And it ended up being their downfall because I think it was not a pleasant shopping experience after that. Prices were sky high at Biggs then when they used to be very good. And they eventually just went out of business. And I think, for a place like Winn-Dixie that is traditionally the same size as Kroger, if we start seeing that more and more, hopefully Aldi has a better control over it or just doesn't sell it to somebody else. Because the more and more these companies sell off and sell off and sell off, the less likely the new people are going to know they're going to end up running into the same problems that the people owned it before them are going to run into. You see what I'm saying? Like take Family Dollar. Okay, Dollar Tree bought out Family Dollar years ago. They just sold Family Dollar almost a year ago. Why? Obviously because it wasn't working. They weren't able to keep Family Dollar afloat. Luckily, some people came and they bought Family Dollar. Now, Dollar Tree, when they owned Family Dollar, they were closing a lot of them. And as a matter of fact, as this transition seemed to be happening, Dollar Tree closed Family Dollars all over the nation. They closed 3 around here. Just around here. I mean, there was a lot that had closed. And I like Family Dollar, but I'm kind of glad. That Family Dollar is out of the Dollar Tree sites here. But I just hope that these other companies, these other people who bought out Family Dollar don't fall into the same try a new structure. The last time I went to Family Dollar, there was a lot of things that seemed like Family Dollar of the new that had ruined them for Dollar Tree. Okay? Dollar Tree is running itself into the ground. I don't think it's a good idea with a lot of... These are things we were talking about a year ago. Now we're seeing it all play out at Dollar Tree. All the items mixed in, all the higher prices. It's becoming a headache. Having to go to the... we talked a lot about this in yesterday's video. So if you missed that, make sure you check it out. Having the price scanners. Some people are saying you can get that on the app. I've got so many apps on my phone. It's like, I don't know. I might test that out eventually. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like me to kind of go over that. Maybe in a coffee rant video or something. But apparently they have, one of our viewers said there's a price scanner on your phone that you can check the product. Still, as to where I think that's cool. I mean, that's good, but that's a lot of headache. I shouldn't have to check all of these different prices. One of our viewers had mentioned that anything with a red sticker over top of the old price, you're not even picking it up. I don't blame you. That was very frustrating yesterday. When I went to Dollar Tree and all these items where it's like, okay, you're going to cover up the price that it was, so it's obviously higher than what it was before, and I can't see anything. I have no idea what this product cost. That is frustrating. And I'm not going to be going through your store, scanning a bunch of items, even on my phone. Yeah, it's easier than taking items up to the digital scanner thing and checking in the store, but I'm not going to be doing all that extra work. And that's where frustration gets in, because, excuse me, that's where, you're scanning these items, and you're probably like me. You're constantly thinking, okay, I'm not going to pay more than this, or I have a limit, and then you look at it, and it's like that thing I picked out, when I actually went to Dollar Tree yesterday and was checking the different shopping prices, right? That thing that I picked out, I said, well, it's probably worth $5. No, it was $7. And I'm like, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And people who are going through the store doing this with every product, I'm not going to be shopping at Dollar Tree for 2.5 hours trying to figure out doing the work. I mean, if that's the case, then they should lower the prices all back under $2 or something. If I got to go through your store and scan almost every item except for maybe food, and even those, this is another thing that we talked about, okay? All these food items are getting pushed. They're carrying so much product now that they're getting pushed into different aisles. You think this thing is $2. They have another sign for $3. They have these for $1.25, but you know that Campbell's Chunky Soup is not $1.25. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, when you try the old theory, right, that I can take a picture of this and get it for that price, well, they're not going to go by that. They can't. It's not going to ring up in the computer. They're not going to give you that deal. Although, I mean, normally I would say they should, but I mean, the thing is you got to look at kind of the workforces with some of these dollar stores, like Dollar General, Dollar Tree. They don't have many employees. That's why they have boxes all over the floors, because they're helping out the customers, which is getting a lot bigger. Dollar stores are becoming flooded with people because nobody can afford to shop regular prices at Kroger. I say regular prices at Kroger because if you shop the sales, well, we've done plenty of videos how to save a lot of money on that. You guys know I've always said Kroger is the most expensive grocery store to shop at, where you can save the most money. And for you new viewers or those who don't understand that, you can save the most money because out of all the stores that I ever shop at, Kroger has the best sales. They just do. They just do. And if you're going in for certain things, and if you're only shopping the sales, then you're going to save money at Kroger. If you go in and you shop the regular prices at Kroger, then you might as well be shopping at Publix or somewhere very expensive because it's going to be as high or higher. Now, some of you have asked if I'd make another trip back to Publix. I do plan on it. It's a bit of a drive. It's hard to kind of get there and then, but I do plan on making it back to Publix. They are moving Publix further north. There are some other Publix being built, which will hopefully be a lot closer to me. I don't think it's a good idea for Publix. You guys know me. I've said this before. You're moving into Kroger territory. Kroger is everywhere here in Cincinnati. Kroger is Cincinnati. And I've seen it in the past, going back and talking about Thriftway, Biggs, all these other companies that showed up and then just could not compete. Now, Publix might be able to compete. Meijer does somehow, but Meijer isn't just grocery. Meijer is like Walmart with maybe some higher quality clothing. I kind of argue that sometimes. But Meijer will also have good deals. Maybe even if it's not in the grocery, they'll have good deals on electronics or clothes or shoes. They always have good deals on shoes at Meijer. Maybe actually next time I go to Meijer, I might check out those sales, because the grocery sales really haven't been that good. But Meijer does get some good deals on good quality clothing. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see that at Meijer. I've kind of been teetering on that anyway, just because going over a lot of the different sales at Meijer really just has not been that great. But I will say Meijer does have good quality. Same as Publix, the produce is the best around. Unless you're going to a farmer's market or you're going and picking the apples off the tree yourself, you're the best produce, at least around me here in Cincinnati, Ohio, is Meijer. Now, Publix, obviously really good, but it's an hour drive or better, more than an hour drive. Obviously, we have Jungle Jim's. Jungle Jim's deals with a lot of international market. They get fruits and vegetables from all over the world, not just the country, all over the world. We've talked with some different Filipino friends of ours. They have to go to Jungle Jim's to get like ingredients for like pancit, which is a famous Filipino dish. My mom was just talking about how my aunt, even years ago, they had to go to Jungle Jim's, but it's not cheap, but they have it. They have it, and what they also have at Jungle Jim's is some amazing fresh produce. I mean, farmers drop them up right off the trucks and into the center. They keep them fresh. I mean, they're always fresh. I don't think I've ever bought a bad tomato at Jungle Jim's. And we are blessed. We are fortunate to have two Jungle Jim's, both within 15 miles of where I live here. And, I mean, there are people who come all over the country to visit Jungle Jim's, and I recommend if you are anywhere near Cincinnati, Ohio, you do too, because it is quite the experience. I've done several videos on Jungle Jim's International Market. You probably just type in Adventures with Dano, Jungle Jim's, and a whole bunch of videos will pop up. That's probably the easiest way to do it, but I love Jungle Jim's. But, guys, back to, some of these things going on, the higher prices get on things, the more we're going to see the less like flavors and different other products that we see in those. Look at like the Herdez salsa. Some of you guys have mentioned this. I remember a couple years ago there were a lot of our viewers who were asking about Herdez salsa, like the salsa verde, some of these other ones. And they basically were not on the shelves. And I said, well, it's one of two things. One, it was kind of expensive. We've actually seen that price come down because they weren't selling any. Right? When people quit buying, they either go out of business or they lower their prices and see how that works. Restructure. Kind of like what we're seeing with General Mills. That's what this really is. They're restructuring and getting rid of things that they're not selling. They're not selling. They'll tell you that this is the progression moving forward. Yeah, sure. For you guys to stay afloat on the products that you really sell, and that would be cereal and other General Mills products. But again, like, if you were to tell me, like, I work for Pizza Crust with General Mills or pet food, right? I mean, I'm sure there's other pet food divisions within General Mills. Like, if that's your specialty, if that's what you do, you may want to look into maybe working for someone else. Unless you're part of whatever this 70 million severance pack. Like, if you're that close and you're going to get a severance package, that might be something you want to look into. But I would look into it now. Don't wait until next year. Don't wait until this is about to happen. Get the paperwork written in your favor now. Get a signature, right? So that okay, I've got 6 months to move on, not 30 days. Or whatever. That's usually what it is, right? It's like, I don't know, it's like when you move out of an apartment or something. Oh, well, you put in your 30-day notice. I mean, I don't know how much time they got to give you, but unless they want a huge media outburst on a bunch of people who didn't have a chance, then you want to make sure that as a big company that you're giving them that chance, right? You mentioned this severance package. If people are close to that, right? If they're very close, or if that is due to them, or if you're directly involved, and this doesn't just go with General Mills, if this is any company and this is happening to you, make sure that you take part in that now. Don't wait. Don't wait. I understand that that can be difficult because you're thinking, well, maybe they'll change their mind, maybe this will work out. Out of all the years I've been doing this, whenever they announce things like this, whenever any company announces things like this, plus knowing what we're seeing in the grocery stores of different shortages of products, back to the Herdez, we don't see many Herdez sauces anymore. There's only a couple, right? There's only a couple. Why? Because they weren't selling them. They had, or maybe they were only selling a few and they had to go back. When they came back, right, which took a while. It took a while. When they came back, I noticed that what happened to all the stickers? Oh, they only got this kind and this kind. That's what they're selling. I think that's what we're going to start seeing with a lot more products in the future, with all these fancy Cheerios or fancy oatmeals or a lot of different ones that they know they're only going to sell seasonal. They'll probably still come out with seasonal ones, but ones that they don't sell, we may start seeing less and less of. So again, I will say, kind of like I said in yesterday and for the last couple years, if you find something that you know is going to probably be disappearing off the shelf, you might want to stock up on some before it's gone completely, right? I mean, it's the sad truth, but these companies are going to do whatever they can to stay afloat, because if not, they're going out of business. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.